The part of the show where all your dreams come true. We talk about problems that you are taking notes on so that they will help you in the future. Usually people debate on we should just start doing these every one of them, but hey, let's see where we're at here. Here we go. Leah, what would you like? 15 is 1/4. According to my thing. 24. Olivia. Ladies and gentlemen, number 9. Number 9 is on the docket here. Number 9. Number 9. Let's look at number 9. First of all, you got to understand what a lawn sprinkler is. Maybe you've seen the dance of the sprinkler, but you have a sprinkler here, and it shoots out water in a general direction, making a circle. It's a round pattern thing. And a pattern 14 out from the sprinkler head. Now 14, you have to know, is the radius, not the diameter, because it goes from the head out. You know, here's the head of the sprinkler. It shoots out 14 feet this way. So maybe that caused some of you confusion. I don't know. How many square feet of lawn does the water? So you're just looking for area. And you wrote down the area of a circle is pi times radius times radius. And they told you instead of 3.14, it's good to use 22.7 because 14 is a multiple of 7. So when you do the formula, area equals 22 over 7 times 14 times 14. Put those over 1 equal fractions. And the reason they do that is because this will cross cancel with the 14. It is foolish to take 22 times 14 times 14 and then divide by 7 because you can divide by 7 right away. 7 goes into 14 twice. And now you can multiply, it doesn't matter, 44 times 14 if you like. Nice thing about that is it just repeats there. This is 56, put a 0 there is 56. So you get 616. 616, whatever that was, feet squared. Liv, where'd you go wrong? Was it that whole radius diameter thing? Or? Yeah. Just understand that. Great.
Could you read number 16, please?
Number 16, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe it would help you again to write out what the factors of all this are. A squared is A times A. B cubed is B times B times B. See if I can switch over a little. And then that's times C. A squared, B cubed, C. A squared, B cubed, C. On the bottom you have A, B, C. And those are all times each other. And remember, just like if they were numbers, you can cross off. If you have an A on top and an A on bottom, that will cross off. If you have a B on top and a B on bottom, they cross off. A C on top and a C on bottom, they cross off. And you're left with 1 A on top times 2 B's, which is B squared. And you don't need to put the 1 under here. If it worked the other way around and everything on top crossed off and this was on the bottom, you definitely need the 1 on top. But on the bottom, we don't need it because AB squared over 1 is the same thing as AB squared. The answer to this one, by the way, I said put an 8 in there. So some of you struggle with the... Please, 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 ladies and gentlemen, do not take 80 million and divide it by 4,000 or whatever it is. Just do it by the rules of scientific notation. And the rules were this. You divide the left side, 8 divided by 4 is 2. You write down times 10. Please don't put dot 10. That's just the acceptable way in scientific notation is put that. And then you subtract. Make sure you're subtracting the bottom from the top. 8 minus 4 is 4. That should have been your answer. It is much simpler, and you just don't make those mistakes like you do if you try to do that. Same thing, might as well do this while we're on this roll here. If you're doing this, the rule for multiplication is very much the same. You multiply the lefts. 6 times 1.2 is 7.2 times 10, and instead of subtracting up here, you actually add. 7 plus 5 is 12. In that case, you did not have to. I'm hoping on tomorrow's you don't have to change much in the way of scientific notation as far as exponents. Stop me there if that don't make no sense. Can I say don't make no sense? Because that would actually be a double negative, which means stop me there if that does make sense. So you should be stopping me. Somebody stop me.
Stop.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, what were the answers? 19 was 25 feet cubed and 20 was 28. Charles,
Number 2.
number dos. Right on, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2. Here's where a little common sense has to dictate here. That is your warehouse. A company's painting the exterior walls of a warehouse. Notice it didn't say, it said find the lateral surface area. I don't know if any of you wrote down the formula for lateral surface area, but we did have one. A lateral surface area is the perimeter of the base, POV, times the height. Or if that confuses you, when you paint a building, you are only painting its walls, not its ceiling, not its floor. So you are just finding the area of all 4 sides. That's what's getting painted. You can do it multiple ways, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to do the perimeter of the base is 100 plus 200 plus 100 plus 200. 100, 200, 100, 200 gives you 600. And the area, or the height of the shape is 20. So 600 times 20 is 12,000 feet squared. And I'm going to guess that problem number 3, did that ask you about paint? If you don't get problem 2 right, you will not get problem 3 right, because you need to know that. If a gallon covers 400 feet squared, how many would you need to do that? Well, you take 12,000 and divide it by 400. This is a place where maybe it would be better to write it as a fraction. Zeros cross off, zeros cross off. 4 goes into 1,220, 30 gallons. 30 gallons. But if you don't get 2 right, you won't get 3 right. I'd have to look at that because maybe I'd give you credit for it. If you got 2 wrong and you did the right thing and got 3 right, according to what you had 2, I'd probably give you that. But it's a division part of that problem. Liv,
Number 12.
love to do 12. This is a good review for all of you. We have talked about solving equations before. You used to do it by just looking at it. Now we follow the rules of equations. And they are pretty simple, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing you must understand is you are trying to get this letter x by itself. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it over here so I have some room to work. If I'm trying to get the letter x by itself, I need to get rid of both this 1/3 and this 1/2. If I got rid of them, I get my letter x by myself and all is good. Okay? In equations, what should you be thinking? You always think opposites, and you always think what you do to one side, do unto the other. Is that one of our 10 commandments? Do I have the 10 commandments? I think it is up there, isn't it? No? You're going to make me look myself?
No,
Did I not say anything about solving equations?
I think it's, yeah, it's,
Number 8, thou shalt do to one side of an equation what thou dost to the other. Now, the only thing that might confuse you here is what you get rid of first. You always get rid of addition and subtraction stuff first. I need to get rid of this first. What is the opposite of adding 1/3? Ladies and gentlemen, opposite of adding 1/3 is to subtract 1/3. Why? Because when you take 1/3 away from 1/3, it's gone. There's nothing left. That's what you want to do. But because of commandment number 8, if I did subtract 1/3 from this, I also have to subtract 1/3 from this. Therefore, making common denominators, this ends up being 4 12ths, and this ends up being 9 12ths. 9 12ths, 4 12ths, subtract 5 12ths. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this gives Mr. Hahn the opportunity for, I believe we're at time number 14, maybe? If there is a fraction in front of a letter, Danny, you flip and multiply would be more. That's kind of interesting. Which means this. I flip this over and I multiply both sides by it. X is now by itself. I get 10 over 12. Can't leave 10 over 12 because it's not reduced. The answer is 5, 6. And I'm assuming maybe, Libby, you flipped the wrong one. I don't know, because you got 6/5 instead of 1 1/5. Not sure where that part of that came from. We might as well do problem number 11 because it's the same spiel. Same equation, same thing. This time you do the opposite of subtracting 1/8. You have to add 1.8. Sorry, whatever I said there. If I add 1.8 to that, I get 4.2 equals 2x. 2 times x equals 4.2. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is to divide by 2. 4.2 divided by 2 is 2.1. Equations are really pretty simple when you get down to the nuts and bolts, slash the nitty slash gritty, slash the kit and or caboodle, as opposed to the Kit and Carson. Charles.
Number 15.
15?
13.
13. Yeah, we talked about these ad nauseum. What's the rule when you add terms? They have to be exactly the same as far as the letters go. I can only put an x with another x. So Charlie, tell me what are the two x terms there?
3x
And minus x, right? So if I have 3 x's and I take 1 x away, what am I left with, Charlie? 2 x's. And then I've got 2 y terms. I have 2 y's, I add another y to it, it's 3y. And we might as well do problem 14 because I'm sure some of you got that wrong. The only difference between 13 and 14 is before you add like terms, you have to use distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. So when you do the distributive property, you have to distribute out this 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I go over here and do this. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. Same rules apply here, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. If I have 3 x's and I have 2 more x's, that's a grand total of 5 x's. 6 plus 6 is 12. Don't get this confused with equations. There's no equal signs here. You're not doing the opposite for this. You're just combining or combining. Do we combine everything there, Aiden? Did we get everything combined? Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, the year was a
4.
Oh, so that could have been a 1. Brenda Massey.
Can you do number 4?
Boy, I hope so. Love number 4. The area of the quadrilateral. We don't right now have a formula for that. There is one. But you basically have to split this into rectangle number 1 and triangle 2. What is the area of rectangle number 1? Well, it's just length times width. 10 times 16 is 160. Are you good with that, Brendan?
Yeah.
Did you get that far? Triangle number 2, you have to use the formula for the area of a triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. The base and the height have to form right angles with each other. We know the height of 2 is 16. It doesn't matter where I put it. And the base is just this piece from here, not the whole thing. So I have to take 10 away from 22, making it 12. Half of 16 is 8. 8 times 12 is 96. 96 gets combined with my 160 for the grand total of 256 centimeters squared. And for the perimeter, the only thing you're missing is, let me erase this in case you did not get the perimeter of this thing. blow that bad boy up to a whatever. To find the perimeter, you know you have 16, you know you have 10, you know you have 22. You have to find this hypotenuse of this right triangle, which in your mind should tell you what? Pythagorean theorem, right? Is there a 16, 12 up here? There is not, which means you have to think about what base triangle it maybe come from. What can you divide 16 and 12 by?
4.
4. If I take 16 divided by 4, that makes this 4. 12 divided by 4 makes this 3. What is a 3, 4, what triangle? 5. But 5 is not my answer because I need to aid.
Multiply by 2.
No, not 2. I cut them in half by 4, so I have to remultiply by 4. I didn't cut them in half, I divided them by 4, so you do the opposite of that. So this side would be 20. So your perimeter is 20, 22, 16, and kind of all added together, which I think gives you 60 something, 63 or something of that nature. Of those nature. Jumping on this. Oh, just kidding. Ellie?
Can you do
Number
number 8?
8. Sometimes if you want to, I'll show you my incision. Wouldn't that be the highlight of your day? 40% of the students in the class are boys, and if there are 18 girls in the class, how many students are in the class? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a what type of problem? Percent. In this case, you need to draw a percent/class ratio box. Looks like this. It's really not that bad. I'm going to do it over here maybe because my boy doesn't like that. Maybe a little smaller. What are my percentages, or what am I comparing? I'm comparing boys to girls to total. Boys to girls to total. I know there are 18 girls. That goes with the girls. I'm sorry. I know there are 18 girls. That goes with the girls. This is my actual numbers. 18 girls. What are my percentages? 40% are boys. 40 goes there. 60 goes there. 100 goes there. Which one am I asked for? Total students. It doesn't ask me for boys. It says how many total students. That goes here. Easiest way to do this, off to the side, you're making equal fractions. Just know that you can reduce this. And now that it's 6/10, 6 times what is 18? 3. So 10 times 3 is 30. And 30 total students is what I'm going to. This is a little bigger, a little smaller next time. Problem number 7, anyone? Tax and tip. Charlie, yes, 7? Tax and tip, always multiplication. Why? Because you want to know what 7.5% of, the word of means multiply, is this. The hardest part in that probably is remembering what 7.5% is as a decimal. What is 7.5%? Charlie, what is 7.5% when you change it to a decimal? Brady, what is 7.5% as a decimal?
7.50.
No, you didn't change the number at all. That's 750% actually. Rick?
0.75.
Right. To change a percent to a decimal, and this may be worth putting in your notes, you move the decimal 2 places left. You divide it by 100. So this is 0.075. And you're multiplying that by 12.40. A lot of digits, a lot of decimals. It would be good for you to take your time. Let's just do it. By the way, I could just leave this as 12.4. It doesn't matter. And I'm them all, because ending zeros don't make a difference. Times 0.075. 20, carry the 2. 10, 12, 5, right down to 0. 28. 2, 14, 16, 1, 7, 8, 0, 0, 2, 9. Well, that don't make sense. Is it $9,200 is my answer?
You need two.
I need, if there's one decimal place here, 3 there, that's a total of 4. Decimal note right here. Looks like tax will be 92 cents. If they ask you what the total price is, you would add that. Did I get that right?
It's 93,
Wasn't it?
I got 93.
Where did I go wrong? Is this supposed to be a 6? Let's do it again. 22, 12, 1, 5, 6, yes. Sorry, it is 92. I thought when I said it, I said 92. Hate to say it, but I am now struck out once today, Brady. How many more do I get? 2. Well, it would be nice to get 3 or 4.
You said that you only do yourself.
I don't have any, like, what happens when I get 3 strikes? Do I quit? Do I walk down to the office?
You give us
Charles! Yeah, don't give you an assignment, right? Charles?
15.
15. Is that up top? Yes, it is. Charlie, what's the first thing I do in this one? I need to multiply first. And in order to multiply fractions, I need to make them improper. Did you? What do you get for 2 2/3 as improper? 8 thirds. And I am multiplying that by 3 over 2. And when I do that, Charlie, I get. The beautiful thing about 24 over 6 is that is the same as 24 divided by 6 is. Oh, I think we've hit a snag here. Charlie, 24 divided by 6. 4. So this whole thing gives you 4. Now I just need to subtract 3 and 3/4 from it. 4 minus 3 and 3/4. Can't take 3/4 from nothing, so I have to borrow. What fraction do I put over here when I borrow? What is this bottom number? A 4, so I make it 4/4. 3/4 from 4/4, 1/4. How much do I still have to do? I want a parade. Nobody has a problem with the volume. Let's just multiplying the 3 things together there. Substituting in the fraction.
What was the answer to the volume?
19, the answer. You're doing this for your own personal edification. 25. Charlie,
19.
we'll do it. It's a pretty quick one. Volume equals, since this is a rectangular prism, you could just use length times width times height. Length, width, height. It doesn't matter which one you call which. So it is 5 times 2 1/2 times 2. Now, the beautiful thing of that is you probably could do this almost mentally. If you have $2.50 times 2 is $2.50. You had 2.5. Oh, let's just do it out. 5 over 1 times 5 over 2 times 2 over 1. That's the whole problem here. You get 5 times 5 is 25 times 2 is 50 over 2. And if you divide that out, you end up with 25 feet squared. Kavarek.
Can you give her 20?
No, I couldn't. Maybe I can. Let me think about that. And again, this is what I do. 1/2 parentheses. I put parentheses for my letters. Oh, and then there's an H. A equals 6, so I put 6 in for A. B equals 8, so I put 8 in for B, H equals 4. Order of operations say I must do parentheses first, so 6 plus 8 is 14. I am multiplying that by 4 and by 1/2. Well, what's half of 14, Rev?
7.
And what's 7 times 4, Rev? What did you get, Rev? And why, Rev?
I was,
Work with me here a little bit.
I was thinking that you had to, I forgot the parentheses first, and I was multiplying 1/2.
Just remember, that's why we do these pretest things, children, so that you need a little refresher on any of this. Charles, last one.
Over 6.
We didn't do 6 yet. Jeremy can type 44 words in 4 minutes. How many words can he type in 10 minutes? This is nothing more, Charlie, than a ratio. Here's your ratio. We are comparing words to minutes. This is the ratio. This is the actual. You can go 144 in 4 minutes. Sorry. You want to know how many you can do in 10 minutes. At this point, I'd probably make equal fractions just so I can see if 144 over 4 equals what number over 10. Is there a quick way to do this? You probably could reduce this fraction, Charlie. If you cut those both in half, what's half of 144? What's 1/2 of 4? Half of 144? Half of 14 is 7 and half of 4 is 2. This becomes 72 over 2. How do you go from 2 to 10? You multiply by? So you get the top, I will have to multiply 72 times 5, which ends up being 360. Good?
So problem number 17, are you gonna give us some?
Yeah, I'll make sure that works out. I will not give you something that will blow your mind. I'm not sure.